And we are back for all you Bi-Conics wrestling nerds out there. And welcome to another episode of TableForTwo+You, your weekly Impact Wrestling review team. I am your host, Mikey. Joined with me always is Andrew and Will. And the trio is back. We are reunited, and it does feel so good. The three of us are here to review this week's episode of Impact Wrestling for Thursday, November 16th, 2023. This is the second half of the Chicago tapings that we got from the fallout from Bound for Glory. So to put the timeline in place, Bound for Glory was like 4 weeks ago. Like, in hindsight, it really wasn't that long, but it has felt that long ago. And we're just finally reaching the Fallout tapings after the pay-per-view because we took a detour to the UK for a week. We had a UK pay-per-view, and now we also had a Bound for Glory recap episode, which was really weird. But now we got back to the regular episodes, and I say that, and then there's no review next week because of Thanksgiving. And when we come back in 2 weeks, we're reviewing the spoof episode, which I'm excited. It's going to be so great. But let's just jump straight into it. Impact this week opens up with an Impact World Tag Team Championship match where we see the challengers made by our deputy of Impact, Mr. Santino, Kenny King and Shelton Jean taking on the champions ABC. So this match was weird to watch in the sense because before I started watching this, news came out that Kenny King requested and was granted his release from Impact Wrestling. So this kind of puts a lot of things that happened in the match kind of in perspective a little bit. This was an okay match for me. I thought, again, I like ABC. They're a great tag team. I'm happy they're champions. Kenny King is great. Shelton Jean needs to do more, but I think he's also a good asset for Impact if they continue to have him on the roster. I don't know what's going to happen with him now that Kenny is no longer there.
You know, I thought this was a nice and exciting match, even though the outcome was pretty obvious. I don't think anyone thought the ABC was going to lose this title, but it was fun. And I think a lot of that had to do with ABC. Ace Austin, that guy is smooth in the ring. Like, some of the stuff he hit in this match was clean. And the two of them are just phenomenal together as a tag team and when they're in there by themselves. So, you know, I thought it was a fun match, fast-paced, so it did what it needed to do, and what I thought was going to happen, happened. So, kind of got the results there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this match, it was fun. The conclusion was what I thought it was going to be. And now, again, like I said, it puts a lot of things in perspective, given the fact that Kenny King is no longer working for Impact Wrestling. I'm kind of hoping he goes to Ring of Honor, because I think that's where he came from originally. So I think, listen, I'm not going to complain with more men's talent in Ring of Honor. We kind of need a lot of those right now.
TV title tournament, maybe?
I mean, just saying, let's utilize our talent. But Will, what did you think of our Tag Team Championship match to open up Impact this week?
I liked it. It was good. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it was all right. I mean, you know, I thought, we knew who was going to win the match. I mean, it didn't make any sense. It would have made, even with the news we know now, it would have made no sense had Kevin King and Sheldon won this match. I mean, it made no sense whatsoever. So it was like, overall, it wasn't bad. I didn't dislike the match, and I actually thought Sheldon Jean was pretty decent. I mean, for just kind of showing up.
So,
I don't think there was anything like super special about it. Like, nothing stood out to me really. It was sort of like, okay, sort of standard. They went in, they did their thing, and they ended. So yeah. So anyway.
I literally wrote in my notes as my reaction at the end of the match. I was like, Barney. Again, I thought this was an okay match. Like, nothing was inherently wrong. But I am going to say this now, and it's going to be a reoccurring thing as we continue on with the night. Now that we're coming to the end of the year for Impact Wrestling, I can start to see that Impact is doing everything they can to try to not even stay afloat, but try to keep the audience engaged at home. Because this tag team division is kind of shallow for both the men and the women's right now. Because on the men's side, you really only have ABC as your champions. Moose is off in the main title picture scene at the moment, so it makes no sense for him and Myers to be mixing it up. I don't know what happened to the Good Hands. Like, are they on a break? Like, where have they been? The Rascals are now a trio, so who knows how that's gonna work. But really, ABC are really the only ones holding it down for the tag team division. And then this kind of goes into our next segment, which we get a vignette from our girls of NK Ultra, which I was happy to finally see Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly back on my television screen. You know, listen, it has not been a fun last couple of weeks for them because their match got cut from Bound for Glory. It was a digital exclusive, and I'm mad that that match was not on the pay-per-view because that was an actually fun match. And they not that I could see, but they didn't have anything for the UK tour that they did. They didn't even have a match against an established UK female tag team at Turning Point. And we get this vignette of how they're going to continue to dominate the Knockouts tag team division. I'm like, girls, I'm here for it. But what tag team division? That's the other problem here. We only have them and the Death Dolls. Kylan King and Taylor Wilde are no longer a tag team, so the Coven's broken up. And that's it. Those are the only two teams we have.
Yeah, my only hope is that the reason we keep getting these vignettes from them is that there are plans, and that, like everything else, they're waiting until the new year, the rebranding, to kind of start anew, because I feel like that's we're finishing off everything we need to this year with all of the divisions. It's just that the Knockouts tag team division kind of ran out of stuff to do. So now we're making sure everyone remembers who MK Ultra is, and hopefully there'll be some new signings, some new teams, a rebuild of the Knockouts tag team division. But the fact that they keep putting them on there, even though they really have nothing for them to do, hopefully that's a good sign. I'd be up at this point for seeing them come and wrestle local talent just to keep them in there and keep them dominant. But fingers crossed they're gonna actually do something with them.
Yeah. Will, any thoughts on our lovable girls bathe in red a la Carrie?
Well, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's just sort of let's keep them in everybody's minds. So, because I think you're right. I think they're going to wait till after the new year when Impact officially shifts. I think they're going to do a big O thing, just a big O event, so that we can bring all these people that we haven't seen regularly back into the mainstream. That's what I believe is going to happen. I really do believe that they're sort of okay, let's just bide our time until Impact officially runs out and then TNA comes back, and then we'll do a big event. We're back, everybody. Yeah, so I think that's what they're doing. And I think we're going to see more of these little vignettes as we go week to week until we get to the end. I really do. We're probably going to see tag teams and individuals that we haven't seen in weeks. It's wait, where did that person come from? It's wait a minute. So I think you're right. I think that's what they're doing. You just sort of okay, don't forget we have MK Ultra over here, guys, and let them say some shit. And
because there's a lot of talent, and I'm wondering, and I'm gonna do a side tangent real quick. With the rebrand of Impact going back to TNA, I wonder if each of the champions are going to get a rebranded championship belt. So I think they're probably making sure that MK Ultra holds on to these titles until then, so that way they can have the new TNA belts. It's not just the Knockouts division and the tag team division. The same could also be said for the X division championship scene right now, because I was just listen, Chris Sabin and Kenta had a great match, but yeah.
I feel like the people that have the titles right now, not to spoil anything coming up, but the people that have the titles right now in Impact are going to be the first champions of the new TNA with those titles.
So I don't mind as long as, once we get the rebrand, and if there are new championships, which I'm hoping there are, at least design-wise, then we can start pulling the triggers. And because there's a whole lot of people we haven't seen, like Khan and Diener haven't been on screen since the last episode. Though we just saw Mike Bailey last week, we still really haven't got much of him before that. There's just a whole plethora of people that I'm excited to see back. Which leads us into where, for me personally, this is where the night actually started to kick off properly, because I thought this match was pretty good, and I was surprised of how much I enjoyed it. But we get Moose versus Heath in this match. I keep forgetting how much Heath actually is good in the ring. Oh, Heath, I love you, man. I wish they would give you give him the digital championship. Like, that's what I want to see. Give this man a title run. It's in the work.
He's got kids, man.
I love that gimmick, but I actually thought this match was more even than I thought it was going to be. Like, Moose dominated the first half of the match, and then Heath kind of dominated, and then it went back and forth. But of course, ultimately, Moose has to win because he is your #1 contender to Alex Shelley's title for Hard to Kill. I enjoyed this match for what it was. Heath was really good. I can smell the tension between Moose and Brian Myers, like, foaming at the mouth, and I'm excited. I'm like, drama! I'm here for it. But Andrew, what did you think of Moose and Heath?
I was surprised too. I enjoyed the fact that Moose didn't just completely dominate over Heath, that Heath was able to get some offense. He was able to use some of his experience, hit some of his own moves. And the fact that they played with Brian Myers being some outside interference also played to the fact that, Heath was basically, overcoming a 2-against-1 odds. I thought everything was really good in the match. The final little interference that led up to the finish seemed a little clunky at spots, but I mean, it worked for what it was. And like you said, Moose wasn't going to lose this. I don't think we're seeing #1 contenders lose before we get to the final pay-per-view. But yeah, it was good. It was a good showing, and I think, Heath is a great example of someone who could really excel if you put him in like the digital media division. He's probably not going to wrestle for the world title, and this doesn't really fit for me for the X division title. I definitely don't want to see a Heath and Rhino tag team run again for the titles. So I think the digital media, especially if they take the digital media to a little grittier place, I think that's a good fit for Heath, and it would be awesome for him to actually like get a chance to hold the title for a little while.
I agree. Well, we talked a little bit off camera about Moose and Heath when we were texting each other. So what were your thoughts of this match?
I mean, I liked it when, others could have been shorter. I don't know why this one was so short. I wish this one had been a little longer. I mean, honestly and truly, the first match could have been shorter. And let this one be a little bit longer, because I felt that it was just getting going, and then it ended. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was left a little kind of at the end, because I really wanted to see more from both of these men. I mean, again, I knew going in that Moose was going to win this, but it was one of those. I don't think they let Keith show himself enough, or Heath, sorry. And I don't understand why they do that. It bugs me. We know what Moose is capable of. We know what he's capable of. But I want to see what he can do. What can he do? Let us see it. But I think it was a little rushed for me. But overall, I enjoyed it. But it was a little fast.
I have to agree with you, and you kind of explained it perfectly, because overall I enjoyed this episode, but I couldn't explain why. I was like, this felt a little bit weird, and now I know why. I feel that the matches that we talked about, like when we went over what was on the card for this week, last week, Will, I feel like the matches that should have gotten more time didn't, and the matches that didn't really need that much of a time did. Because I'm going to bring up that same point, because later down the line, we have a certain mixed tag team match that I also felt was really short. And I kind of wanted like 5 more minutes with it. I still have positive things to say about it, because one of the things that we talked about last week happened because of a certain someone's coming out party, and we'll talk about it when we get there. But
and then after the backstage segment, I was like, oh, this match with Heath was to give Moose something to do and set up the next thing to give Moose to do while we wait for his title shot, because we already shot that and announced it, and so we don't need to build it up, and we know they're not going to change what that match is going to be. So this is basically just busy work, and nice if they give us a good match out of it, but at the same time, that's not a lot to get invested in a match. Is like, oh, this could be a good match. Like, I either want it to be like, oh, this is a stellar match I am so excited to see, or something that's been built up.
Agreed. And commentary, I love you, Matthew Raywald and Tom Hannafan, but the whole entire night I started to roll my eyes. It was like, if they are still champion leading into New Year, I'm like, you guys, we know that no one's changing the titles until Hard to Kill. Like, Hard to Kill is where we might see some title changes. Some titles need to be changing hands at Hard to Kill. Though I fear for my girl Trinity, because I think she falls into that category where maybe her title is getting changed.
Really?
I think Alex Shelley's keeping his title. I don't think Moose is going to take it from him.
No.
But I'm 50-50 on Jordan and Trinity, because having Trinity beat Jordan at Hard to Kill would be a major boost into her Trinity's stock, because Jordan Grace is like the quasi gatekeeper for she already beat one of the final bosses. So Trinity can 3 times. If Trinity can beat Jordan Grace like as the second final boss, then Trinity stock will rise. But that match is 50-50. But we can talk about that as we get closer to Hard to Kill. Because I want to talk about this next match, because this was a mess, but like in the best way possible, because it was under Lucha Rules match. So this was a 6-man tag team match that was under Lucha Rules, which was made up of the Rascals, which is Trey Miguel, Zachary Rowent, and newest member, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his? Oh, Myron Reed. Yeah, I was just like, why am I blanking on his name? I was like, I just said it last week. Taking on the team of Laredo Kid, Black Taurus, and Juventud Guerrero with Conan on commentary. I was like, that's a throwback. That's a throwback. I actually really enjoy Conan on commentary, because I feel like he added to this match, and I was just like, you guys get a pass. You're not Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman, but you know what, Conan? You actually did really good. This was a really fun match. It was chaotic. Like, at one point, Juventud lost his mask. I was like, what happened? I was trying to rewind. I was like, where did he lose his mask? I didn't see him lose that spot. What happened?
Well, I mean, Taurus almost lost his. He was down on the floor, like putting it back on. I was like,
I still don't know how you wrestle with that big of a prosthetic of a mask on, man. That's crazy.
I mean, good for him, but damn.
Yeah, I loved the Lucha Rules style. I'm a big fan of that. Excuse me. When it comes to like trios wrestling, I had kind of hoped this was the style that the AEW trios title would be under, and I think that the trios 6-man tag matches, trios matches, whatever it is, if you're gonna have 3 people against 3 people, it needs to be Lucha Rules. It just keeps the pace going. And something that really impressed me was the Rascals were able to keep up with, and in some places exceed, what the Luchadors were able to do in a match that's basically, a style they're more familiar with on paper. And the Rascals looked great. That back body drop into the triple drop kick from them was incredible, and they did some really good stuff. So I was shocked by the outcome of this match. I was not expecting that to happen, but overall it was a great match. It was one of my top matches of the night.
Will, Lucha Rules match, what'd you think?
I loved it, and even though I wasn't expecting that outcome either, but I'm kind of here for it. I was just like, wait a minute, the Luchadors should be like whooping your asses and then you guys catching up, but it was more like the Rascals were kicking their asses and the Luchadors were trying to catch up, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right for me. I don't know, but I love this match. This is one of my top matches, but I was sort of like, is it just me, or does it feel like the Luchadors are not doing well in luchador fighting at times? So, but otherwise, other than that, I really enjoyed the match, and I was surprised that the Luchadors won, but I was excited that they did. So
I kind of have to agree with you, because last week we got an introduction to Myron Reed being a part of Impact now, so the Rascals are 3 of the 4 of them are together, because the last remaining one is out here fighting Dominic Mysterio in NXT. So, but I'm gonna be honest, I want NXT to keep Wes, because Wes is, that's neither here nor there. I'm interested to see where we go with the Rascals now, because I thought we were gonna get a rematch between Zach and Trey against ABC, maybe at Final Resolution, but it seems that we may be moving past the main championship scene and have a program against Alex Shelley at some point. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, we'll see what happens at Hard to Kill, because I think that's going to set up like the first couple of big feuds, because we have Hard to Kill, and then the next big 4 pay-per-view for Impact is Rebellion in April. Okay, you guys, so I was upset of how short this next match was. I wanted like 5 more minutes, because what we got was great. It was good. but it could have been amazing if we got like 5 more minutes. But we had this mixed tag team match with Steve Maclin and Kylan King taking on Bully Ray and Jordan Grace. We talked about it last week. The backstage segment between these 4 was probably the hypest I have ever been with the backstage promo segment, because the 4 of them killed it. And I felt that the match was a lot of fun, and it checked all the boxes that I wanted. I just wanted 5 more minutes. That's all I wanted from this match, because I feel like they had to rush through certain spots because they didn't get a lot of time.
Yeah.
But man, listen, I love everyone involved. Steve Maclin, I like him. Bully Ray and Jordan Grace is great. But I'm telling you right now, and I think we all agree, this was the coming out party for Kylan King as a singles wrestler now that she's not in the tag team division. Like, this girl took on most of the offense for her team, and I love that Steve Maclin let her do, like, was just standing on the side and just let Kylan King destroy. When she threw Bully Ray from the top rope onto the mat, I was just like, listen, I'm bisexual, but I did the gay finger whack. I was like, yes! Oh, man. This was Kylan's coming out party, and I was just like, you know what? She and Trinity should have that. Kylan and Trinity should be that match for Final Resolution, and Jordan Grace can be watching on, because now that Jordan has fought Kylan and is kind of involved in there, we're continuing the story thread of how Kylan made it to the Final 4 only to get thrown over the top rope and call your shot gauntlet. I would love for Jordan and Kylan, or even Jordan versus Kylan for Final Resolution if Trinity doesn't have a match. Anyways, this was a lot of fun. I did get a little scared. Stop pulling the hair, because I got worried because he keeps picking up the girls by the hair. I was like, I know you're not like that, but we need to stop pulling hair, Bully Ray. Like, what is happening? But Jordan and Bully Ray end up winning this match. But before we get into what happened afterwards, that was the more interesting part for me. I'm going to go to Andrew. This mixed tag team match, Impact seems to be the only company that does it well. What were your thoughts on this match?
I loved how this could, I mean, let's call it what it was, a tag team match. We had 2 people competing against another 2 people, and I love that they play it that way. And nothing to hate against him. He just wasn't as big of a feature in this match as she was. I loved how much we got to see from King and Grace, as well as getting to see Bully in there a little bit too. I think they're all having fun getting to go out there and do stuff like this. I kind of think that I'm leaning towards the idea that Jordan Grace is going to dethrone Trinity. And I think Bully's doing exactly what he needs to do in order to help move up some of those other performers, especially considering one's his former student. And then I do have some thoughts on the stuff that happened after the match as to, where he's at.
I like this match a lot. I think it was too short. And I love this Maclin Bully Ray rivalry going on, and I love these 2 powerhouse women that were in this, because man, and they were, because Kylan, she was whooping up on Jordan, which surprised me. I was, because Jordan's like, and you have Kylan King who just like picking her up, and like she put her over her head. I was like,
oh, there was one particular spot where Jordan tried to do a forearm and Kylan ducked and then answered back with like what sounded like a really, really heavy like kick to the face, like a roundhouse kick. I was like, oh my gosh, I think Jordan Grace is legit knocked out.
Yeah, I know. I didn't do it first. I was like, oh my goodness. And yeah, it was really, and I'll give them this. And I think you're right, Mikey. This is the coming out party for Kylan King. I think because when Maclin was going up against Bully, and he looked at her and went, do you want to come in? And then he handed it off to her, and he was like, it's yours, go to town, basically. And which I thought was great, and that Maclin kind of took a back seat, even though I don't really like Maclin, but I thought that was pretty cool. And then so this whole match was all about Kylan King. It really was. And you're right, it focused on her. And I was like, good for them. And and then you're right. Bully Ray is all about hair pulling. It is so. It's just like stop. It makes you look, bad. Stop doing that. No, but I really like this. This was a great match. This was fun. Like I said, it needed to be longer though. So I wanted to see more of the 2 of them, because you're right. I think you're absolutely correct that Jordan Grace is going to take Trinity, and then I think Kylan King is going to be her first challenger. I really believe that, which is great, which will be a fantastic match. Absolutely. But yeah, I like this match. It was really good. I thought Bully Ray did well, and I think I was like, oh, am I just crazy, or does Jordan and Bully make sense?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna jump into what happened after the match between the kind of thing between Bully and Jordan, and kind of, it looked like for a minute that Bully Ray was going to hit Jordan with the trophy, and everyone was kind of suspecting that. And then he did the, like, if you want it, take it. Like, literally, if you really want this, you got to take it from me. Like, show me you want it. Mm-hmm. And she did. And I feel like Jordan Grace is the daughter that Bully Ray doesn't have. Like, he sees what she's capable of, and he's like, but because of who he is, he's like, you need to prove that I want to see you take what you want. Like, show me you really want this. And so when all of these, like, confrontations that they've been having and this back and forth between the two of them, it's almost like that, like, Spartan style of, like, raising her through punishment. And so now he's like, okay, now I see it. All right, now you're the juggernaut. Now I buy it. And so I kind of see that, like, father-daughter kind of relationship there, because Bully Ray's always been the, like, rough, go through a table, put people through tables, hit people with, steel chairs kind of guy. And I think he respects that. And Jordan Grace has constantly proved that she does so many things. She's, not just the powerhouse. She's not just agile. She does big spots. She goes through all these things. She's broken all these records. And I like the dynamic of the two of them. They were fun enemies, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of them as allies.
I love this. The ending of this match was great, and I thought, honestly, that was probably up to this point in the night, this was probably my favorite match, and then my favorite spot, what happened at the end. Then we got the next match, and this blasphemous, because as much as I enjoyed Will versus Josh as the main event, I think Sunny versus Trinity is probably my match of the night. Though I do have a bone to pick with Impact, because last week you had said this was for the Knockouts Championship, and then as soon as Sunny makes her entrance, it's like the following match is a non-title bout. I was like, what happened? You advertised this as a championship match. Like, what happened? I don't know, man. Someone messed up, but you know what? I'm kind of happy it wasn't for the title, because once again, just like for Kylan King, this was a coming out party for the Impact viewers who are not familiar with Sunny Kiss. This match was so freaking fun. I loved it so much. I love, again, the personalities between Sunny and Trinity. They just go together. Like, the twerk off they had in the middle of the match was like one of my favorite spots. I was like, get it, Sunny, get it, Trinity. There was such a playful intensity, I think is the best way to describe this match, because at first they were being playful, and then they both got serious, and the acrobatics came in from the Matrix, like, dodges, the cartwheel, like, kick from Sunny into Trinity in the corner was crazy. And then also forgetting how powerful Sunny is, picking up Trinity, spinning her around, just throwing her all over the place. Trinity pulling out moves that I have yet to see from her too. I'm just like, this was such an innovative match for me, because both of them have such a unique offense and defense style which I think makes them a draw for Impact for me, because I don't see that kind of wrestling anywhere else in terms of how they fight and how they defend in the ring. And
this was a great, like you said, introduction. That wink that Sunny gave Trinity right at the beginning of the match, it was like, we're here, we're doing this right now, like, this is awesome. And I think it was acknowledging all the fans, cheering for them, the fact that they got to have this match. I was a little let down that it wasn't for the title, because I thought it was going to be. There was even a confusion at one point, because it looked like after Trinity's entrance, the ref, like, went to grab the title, and then she was gonna hold it up as if it was a title match, and then somebody else like grabbed it and took it away, and it seemed to be some confusion. But the match itself, like, the comment about a battle of gluteal greatness was so good, because we were all thinking it. I mean, like, the thighs and the glutes on the two of them, having fun with that. I think the biggest thing for me, and this was two people who not only love what they do, the sport and the entertainment form that they're in, but they love the fact that they get to do it. And I think every time you saw them, like, they were like kids on the playground. Like, they were just having fun getting to be there and do this stuff, and it came through in how they performed. And I can't wait to see more of Sunny Kiss in the Knockouts division, and see, there's so many great people to see Sunny fight. And this is the style of match of keeping the champion busy until we get to an actual, like, you know, the TNA title that I'm more interested in than some of the other ones that we're getting.
Well, our girl Trinity was wrestling, and Sunny Kiss is one of my girls as well. I love her so much. What were your thoughts on this match?
This is a fun match. I enjoyed this so much because I love Trinity. I love her performance every time she's in the ring. And then I think what enhanced it was Sunny. Sunny's presence, like, truly enhanced this match, I think. And it was so great because I thought that they played off of each other well. I thought their energy sort of synced, and they were just sort of like, yeah, you know, that's why there was the great playfulness and, you know, and yet seriousness. Hey, we're fighting, but we're still having fun. And I too was confused on the title thing. I was like, wait, because we had talked, we're like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a title run. It's great for, you know, for Sunny. Sunny is in her you know, their first title run, and then yeah, then I saw the confusion with the ref, and it was like, wait, what happened? Like, why did they suddenly pull it away from being a title match? Because I was very like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And I think this match could have gone longer. I'll be honest with you guys. I think the Will and Josh fight could have been shorter. I think it was okay. I wasn't all that impressed with it, but I wasn't impressed with it at all. And I have my reasons, but yeah. But this match was fantastic. And I truly did love it. I truly did.
Well, since we're about to get spicy anyways, before we get into our main event, as said, Trinity picks up the win. I'm excited. Listen, I agree with Andrew. There are so many women in the Knockouts division that Sunny can fight. Like, obviously, Sunny versus Jordan at some point would be great. Even as a joke match, Sunny versus Jay Vidal would be hilarious to see. Honestly, though, like, Giselle actually would be a fantastic match, too. Just Sunny versus anyone at this point.
Kylan, Sunny, yeah, I mean...
Diana, like, get more knocked... Like, honestly, in a weird way, I kind of want to see Masha versus Sunny at some point, too. Because I know they fought on the independent circuit before, too. It's... Oh, my gosh, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
I just love the campness of Sunny. I love the style of wrestle is so camp, and I love it. And it's one of those, like, it's hard to explain because it's so campy, but it's so, like, strategic. You know, it's, you know, I think it's great.
Mad at AEW didn't use Sunny to the best of her ability. But
I have to say, when the announcers were talking about Impact's inclusivity, I was like, good for you guys for putting that out there. You know, like, truly, because they could have just been like, okay, let's do this match and let's move on. But no, they're like, oh, we're, you know, because Impact is so good about, you know, inclusion and making sure that, you know, this, that, and the other. When they're talking about Sunny, and I was like, good for you guys. Good for you.
Yeah.
Impact is really, like, when you look at it across the board, they're a pretty diverse roster. You know, they've got a lot, especially at the top end, they've got a lot of folks that are just from different, you know, demographics, and it's nice because some of it goes without saying. Like, they don't, it doesn't become a caricature of who they are, but they're a representation of other people who might look to them and find someone that they're like, hey, you know, 20 years ago I wasn't seeing a wrestler who I felt like I could connect to. But I that's one of the things I like about how it's not like there's not that strict line between like men and women's division, and you know, there's more chance of seeing different dynamics because it just really does show them all as kind of like, they're all professional wrestlers. That's what they're going out there to do, and they do it well, and they do it well together.
I totally agree, and Impact for me has been one of those things where, and I mean, a lot of the women's division, like, we're in an era where it's no longer just, oh, let's look, especially the women's division across the board, it's no longer just, oh, we're just gonna throw skippy outfits on these women and have them do like really embarrassing matches, like bra and panties matches or the mud wrestling of the bygone era. Now we have women fighting in cage matches, like they're bleeding all over the place. I still think that the hard to kill match from earlier this year between Mickey James and Deonna Purrazzo is still one of my favorite matches. Athena versus Willow at Death Before Dishonor is my favorite women's match of the year. And again, the inclusivity is there. We have Sunny Kiss, we have Giselle Shaw, you know. It's I love it, and I agree with you, Andrew. Impact does a really good job of making these aspects of who these people are not a caricature and not we don't perpetuate stereotypes of their background and whatnot. So, we three already got news of this because Social Impact needs to figure out what they want to do. Whoever's on their social media team should wait before they put up these graphics, because we get the official promo. We have the Motor City Machine Guns backstage, where obviously Alex Shelley is kind of still being a heel, but now Chris Sabin has joined in the act. And essentially, they talk about how they're the best tag team in the world. They hype up Josh Alexander. And Alex Shelley actually mentioned something. I was like, how have they not crossed paths? But, you know, this promo sets up the match of the Motor City Machine Guns taking on the team of Josh Alexander and New Japan Television Champion Zack Sabre Jr. I was just like, dang, Zack and Will have been all over the place this year. And listen, Josh and Zack, I'm like, you want to talk about technical wrestling?
Yeah.
My dream match is a triple threat between Josh, Zack, Daniel, and Shibata. Those four. I'm like, but this sets up probably what's going to be our main event for Final Resolution. Because obviously, I'm excited. But the social media team, we need to figure out who's running that, because you put up the graphic like last week, and then this was the official promo that told us we're getting that match. I was like, somebody's getting... Again, I have to give grace because this was filmed probably like before they went to the UK after Bound for Glory, which was like 4 weeks ago. I don't know. All right. So now we have the main event, and there's going to be some choice words thrown around between all three. Not really, but we're all going to have different opinions, because I also have an opinion where I liked it, but I didn't. But there were some things that I have questions on, and it might be because of, you know, this third time we've seen Will. But I'm glad that this is kind of the end of his Impact run, because I'm starting to get his fatigue. I love Will, but if I consistently see him on a weekly basis, I was just like, okay, it's like loses its shimmer a little bit.
A lot.
So we'll just get into it. So our main event, we have Will Ospreay taking on Josh Alexander. My initial thoughts, and then I will let you both speak. I enjoyed the match. This match went on for like 20 minutes or so, which, okay. So I didn't hate the match. I just want to be clear. I thought this was a lot of fun. Will Ospreay is probably my men's wrestler of the year, just between of all the matches that I've seen him in this year has been great. I also like that Josh leaned in more to being a heel here, like when he stomped on the ankle to get it then into the ankle lock. I was like, ooh, Josh, are we kind of getting heelish? I'm here for a heel Josh turn at some point. I think that'd be great. I really enjoyed this match. The finishing sequence was bananas, where Will Ospreay was just throwing everything and the kitchen sink at Josh to keep him down, which is how you keep Josh looking strong. However, you know, looking at the 3 matches that Will has had in his mini Impact run that he's had over the last couple of weeks, I will say, even though I enjoyed this match a lot, this is probably my 3rd place, with him versus Eddie as my 2nd place match, and then obviously Mike versus Will is still my favorite at this point. Now, I got to see the exclusive after the show went off the air, in which Will was, again, Will thanked Scott D'Amore, Gail Kim, all of the roster on Impact. It's like, man, who knows? I might want to wrestle in the Impact ring more often. Teasing, you know, because his contract is up at the end of the year. If you can find a way to sign Will to your roster, that's a game changer for me.
Didn't he say something about wanting to set foot in a TNA ring or something?
Yep, because his idol he fell in love with professional wrestling watching AJ Styles at his peak in TNA. So who knows? But we have to wait until January to figure out where Will's going to go. But wherever he goes, I just hope he's happy, because he's a really nice guy. Okay. So I've said my piece on this match. Andrew, I'm going to let you go first. Then
Go to Will first. I have a feeling your opinions are going to be similar, so I'll save mine for last.
Alrighty then. Will, you have been given the floor first, so give us your thoughts and opinions on our main event.
Okay, so I don't have really strong opinions. It's really just, you know, I didn't dislike the match. I liked it. I thought it was good. I think it could have been shorter. I think that it felt more like, oh, this is my last match. I'm just going to throw in the towel, whatever, do it and be done. So, and because I like Will Ospreay, don't get me wrong, I like the dude, and I think he's a great wrestler, and I think everything he's got, he's earned. I truly believe that. But I'm just like, and this has always been my big thing. I'm so sick and tired of non-Impact people coming in and like kicking everyone's asses, and it drives me insane. And it's like, because I was telling you last week, Mikey, that I was like, I know Will's going to win this match. I knew that going in, but God, it would have been great if he didn't. It would have been fantastic. And I don't think it would have lessened anything that he's done prior. And I think that to me, it's like he's undefeatable. Like, I don't like those types of characters because, you have to have a flaw. It's like Superman, Superman first came out, he did not have a weakness. They had to create kryptonite because he was too powerful. And that's what I feel about Will Ospreay. He's like the original Superman. He's completely has no weakness. And to me, that is kind of like, I'm not into that. You gotta have, because it doesn't make you human. It makes you kind of like a machine. Like, I don't know anything he's done prior to when I've met him here. So this is all going on based on what I know now. So haters, hold off. Because I can only give you my opinion based on what I've seen of him. That's it. I don't know any of his stuff from New Japan. I don't know any of that. So this is just that. And I agree with Mikey. I think Eddie's in his fight was 1,000 times better than this one. I literally was like, I expected more from this match. And yeah, I did get it at times. There were times I was kind of that close count with Josh that Josh almost got Will with. I think I even sent a message to Mikey going, that should have been a 3 count. So I did. I was excited about the match. So don't get me wrong. I wasn't like, oh, this is dumb. Let me just fast forward it. No, I watched it and I was like, okay, there were some great moments in it. But I just don't think it lived up to the previous. I mean, his and Mike's fight. I mean, see, I wasn't energized in this one. I was like, oh, this is good. But man, his and Mike, I was like, I think I was about to hyperventilate. I mean, it got me that excited. That match was so good. And I know that this is going to be an issue. So I'm going to exploit it. It doesn't necessarily make you a heel. Might make you a little bit of a turd, but it doesn't make you a heel. At least I don't think so.
So, yeah, I felt a lot different. This was my match of the night, and I wrote down, I'm going to have to go back and watch the Ospreay versus Bayley match to see which one is my match of the year, because what this match was, and I think you said it perfectly, this was the 3rd match in Ospreay and Impact, and Bayley and Ospreay set that bar, so they're always going to have that shine of being the first thing that we saw of him in Impact. I think if we had flipped those 2 matches, we might be having different comments, but I have to go back and watch it again to compare it now that I have that to compare it against, because this match, for me, got better as it went along, because I think they started hitting those high paces, and the thing that really got it from me was Bayley and Ospreay are very similar. Ospreay and Alexander are completely different styles, Alexander's the technical powerhouse and Ospreay's the, high-flying striker. And I think their opposites really built this into a super exciting match for me. There were some moves like the powerbomb backbreaker that Alexander hit, the splash, that crossbody he did when Ospreay was sitting on the apron and he went through the 2 lower ropes. Like, the impact that he hit Ospreay with was crazy. And just the intensity of these 2 back and forth, what this made me think of was we were seeing a new generation's version of Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles. How Josh Alexander built up into this focus on the ankle lock and on the suplexes and the attacks to the back, that was classic Kurt Angle. And the way that Kurt Angle could wrestle phenomenal matches with every different style, that's what I was seeing right there from Josh Alexander, but the new generation of it. And it was, for me, it was just, I loved the match. I thought it was an awesome match. It was super exciting. I thought both guys got to show off exactly what makes them so good. I do agree that if Ospreay came back to Impact, we need to see some variety in his success, or if he came back for TNA, I should say. But the fact that he won his 3 Impact matches didn't surprise me, because he's a champion from another company. He's top tier name. He's like, you know, he's going to be the highest ranked free agent, the most sought after free agent here. You know, I mean, he already is. People are already trying to get him in every company. So business wise, behind the scenes, he's not taking losses from anyone while he's doing this world tour, basically. So that doesn't surprise me, because I feel like Bayley, Eddie Edwards, and Josh Alexander, none of them were going into it expecting that they were going to come out the winners. They were going into it expecting they were going to put on some of the best matches that they've put on, and I think they all did. And so for me, watching this, I never had any aspirations that Josh Alexander was going to win. I will agree there was a moment when I was like, oh, he might actually win this thing, which I love when they do that, when you know who the winner's going to be. They give you the idea that, like, oh, I could be wrong here. But the fact that, like, there was a moment, I don't know if you caught it at the very end, after Ospreay pinned Alexander, he did the leg pinch. Alexander did the leg pinch to Ospreay, which is, you know, the, like, good match sign. And, like, I just saw him give it, and I was like, yep, that's, I know exactly what he's feeling right there. And it was, for me, it was a great match. I loved it. I'm definitely going to go back and watch the Bayley match, if for no other reason it was an incredible match as well. But now I have to go look at it now that I've seen his two other matches in Impact, and I think it's going to give me a chance to look at this match again and really see how it ranks up fairly versus, like, looking back on it with, you know, the nostalgia I have of that match. But either way, I think we got some amazing things from Will Ospreay coming here to Impact. And I'm happy that he did it, because it was awesome that he did that for a company and with a company like Impact, and to see how much he genuinely is a fan of Impact and TNA makes me also happy for him, because he's all around the world, top name that everyone wants to sign, but he's literally getting to live his, like, childhood dreams right now, and that's just awesome. Like, how can you not enjoy that for someone?
I love it, but yeah, and honestly, I thought for what we had for this trilogy of Will matches, I will say, I think, again, I'm biased, but I would love to see him being signed to TNA, but only time will tell to see where he ends up going when his contract with New Japan is up in January. So we'll just have to see what happens. But that does bring us to the end of this week's Impact Wrestling. So last thing we have to do is let's do our ratings. I am going to change it up. Actually, I am going to go to Will first. So Will, your final rating for this week's Impact.
Well, actually, I enjoyed this episode. I didn't, you know, other than a couple of little things here and there, overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was I thought it flowed well. Again, there were some matches I think could have gone longer, some that could have gone shorter. I thought we got a pretty good round of, like, serious technical wrestling and some sort of fancy, fun stuff. I thought it was, you know, a good mix. So I actually scored this one pretty high. You know, believe it or not, I think this was, excuse me if I can speak to me. I gave this one actually an 8 out of 10 because I really enjoyed the episode. I really did enjoy it. Even though it may have sounded like I didn't, I really did enjoy it. So yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Awesome. Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this card. I think every match in here was above average for me. There were some great matches, and even the ones that weren't top of the card were still really good fun matches. So I gave this an 8.5. I gave it a B. This was a really good week of wrestling for Impact, and I'm finding myself every week Impact really being the star of wrestling shows that I tune into. They seem like they're growing in the right direction, and it's just getting me more excited for TNA.
You know, I'm kind of in the middle. I gave this a solid 8 out of 10 too. I overall enjoyed it. I think this was the stronger of the two Chicago tapings, though last week was a lot of fun too. I think last week's had better backstage segments, but this week had the better matches, in my opinion, which make a lot of sense. But I give it a solid 8 out of 10. And with that, gentlemen, this does bring us to the end of this week's TableForTwo+You review. Just as a heads up to the audience, there will be no episode next week for TableForTwo+You, as it is here in America, at least. It is Thanksgiving, so all of us will be busy with our own families and things like that. Plus, from what we could find, there is no regular scheduled Impact Wrestling program. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, and when we come back, we will be covering the IWFP show, which is Impact's yearly throwback show where they all take on like the most over-the-top 80s gimmick style of wrestling and characters. It is a great time. I can't wait to expose Will to this. It's gonna be it's good. It's so camp, it hurts. I do wish this year, though, for Thanksgiving, we got another iteration of Wrestle House, because that was hilarious. The Wrestle House segments were ridiculous, but that is going to be it for us. If you liked this review, check us out here on the Bi-Conics YouTube channel. Follow us all over the social medias at bcwrestlepod, and subscribe to our podcast where all podcasts can be found. From myself, Andrew, and Will, and the rest of the Bi-Conics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, stay Bi-Conic, you beautiful bastards. For those of you in the States, have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the holidays with those